We have with us now Netra Halpern. She's a producer and director for foreign policy documentaries at Peace Films, and she has a master's degree in psychology with an emphasis on feminist therapy. Um, Netra, what we wanted to talk to you today about is emotional wellness while in quarantine. I think we need to really start talking about it. It's only been a few days so far, and people are really starting to get, to recognize that not just is there a physical threat out here, but there is certainly threats to our emotional wellness. Good morning and welcome to Fault Lines.
Good morning, Garland. And Lee, I'm not sure if Lee's there, but good morning.
Yes, Netra. All right, so let's start here. People are in the house. We've got two kinds of dynamics, I think. And one, it would be, people who are in the house with their family, they're locked in their cabin fever. People are getting what we call cabin fever. Maybe you can talk about, the threats to emotional wellness and the dynamics going on now that people are suddenly out of the blue lockdown, not really much preparation for it. It just hit us. That's right.
And Garland, what happens is it amplifies whatever the person is experiencing. For instance, some people live alone, and so it might amplify feeling isolated. Some people obviously are in families, households, either roommates or families. And, for some people, it's a much welcomed time to be together, that they're usually too busy running around, and now they can be together. And so that's, one category. The next category is people that got along fine, but, they're, as you said, getting on each other's nerves. Little things get amplified and heightened. Everybody's under stress. Many people are losing part of their income or all of their income, so that's going to add stress to themselves and then to their relationships. And then the thing that you were asking about, the more extreme side, which is an abusive relationship. So in that case, and remember, Garland, abuse is about power and control. So if the abuser is even more feeling lack of power, that maybe he lost his job or his hours were cut, then he's going to be acting out even worse. And the victim is already suffering from isolation, and so the pandemic is going to make it even worse. And so she, can't go and visit her friends, can't go visit her family, can't go to work. I mean, people use work as a way to get out of the house, and maybe she can't do that. And I say she and he. Now, obviously, there's other circumstances. That's the majority, but so I'm going to say that. But understand that I know that sometimes men abuse men, women abuse women. I guess sometimes women abuse men. It's rare, but everything happens. But anyway, so the majority that we're talking about is men abusing. And then the other thing is the abuser could actually threaten to kick her out onto the street. If you don't, snap into line, if you don't do what I want, I'm going to kick you out onto the street where you will get sick. So it kind of amplifies everything and makes everything worse. The abuser could threaten the woman to be kicked out if he could say, well, you're sick, you're coughing, get out of the house, I don't want to get sick. And then the victims are afraid to seek medical or psychological help from an overtaxed medical system. And even the system is people, unless you have something that absolutely you need to go to the emergency room, don't, because there's already so many coronavirus victims there, and there's already running out of beds. And the thing is, Garland, in China, the number of domestic violence cases reported to the local hospitals reported to the local police tripled in February compared to the previous year. So there's 3 times as many women in China because they were stuck in their homes in February for them that reported domestic violence. So this is a really serious problem.
Go ahead, Lee.
Well, no, I was also mentioned I was in downtown Alexandria yesterday, and I went to the court. The court, for instance, people should be aware of this. This is just Alexandria, Virginia, but I'll bet this is happening across the country. The court was basically closed. The court said, for instance, that they had a sign up front and there was nobody there. You could see the court was closed. And when I talked to them about it, they said, except for like criminal cases, nothing new is coming in. So even and emergency cases, and what apparently they would consider an emergency might not be what other people consider an emergency. So aside from health resources being at a minimum right now, overtaxed, because of the shutdown of other services like the courts right now, that presents another issue that people should be aware of. And obviously the police are going to be busier than normal. So Netra, how do you think that's going to affect things?
Well, yeah, I mean, because the first abuse is a restraining order. And I do know I had a court case and it was canceled. It wasn't an urgent thing, so I was okay with that. But restraining orders, I know how they've. I used to live in Maui, and that's where I mostly worked with abused women. And there, you could go into the court, you fill out, and the clerk would take it upstairs in that day. Within the next couple of hours, she would take it upstairs to the judge to have the judge sign it, and then you would. It started right away, and they would schedule a hearing within a couple of days. And so, absolutely, the immediate release that the restraining order system has been created to provide for these situations, that is not going to be available either. So, exactly, that's going to even exacerbate it and take away the pressure valve that abuse victims needed.
So, Netra, let's talk about something else that seems that could be very, very significant. The issue of depression. Certainly, people who suffered from depression before could see it worse. And additionally, some people who have never had to deal with the depression, I'm sure, and I'll put it like this, I'm sure to some extent, everyone is struggling with some level of, depression, fear, et cetera, or at least a lot of people. Maybe you can talk about, what how bad you think this aggravates the issue of depression, and is there anything people can do, because oftentimes maybe they can't get medication, they certainly can't get any therapy. What are your thoughts on the issue of depression during this coronavirus pandemic?
And absolutely, Garland, that's going to be a problem that's going to be exacerbated. Again, if somebody does not have it, it's situational depression. I mean, certain situations in life are depressing. That's just a fact. If somebody goes to prison and they're not depressed, then you wonder, well, what's going on? And yes, losing your normal income, your normal social structure, and also the fear. People just don't know what's going to happen. And there's nothing that the authorities can say because they don't know either. I don't know if this has ever happened, because we've had, the cholera, we've had great plagues before, but because we didn't have so much jet plane travel, it didn't become a pandemic. But anyway, what should do, what some recommendations are, is, reframing. Instead of I'm stuck inside to, I can finally focus on my home and myself and my family in some cases. And also, set yourself up for, set your sights on long-avoided tasks. So reorganize or create something you've always wanted to. So, depending on what type of person you are, you could either reorganize your kitchen or start doing a painting or start writing a book on your computer or research something. So basically, it's a time to do things that they just have not had time to do. And the other thing is different, obviously, compared to previous pandemics or epidemics, is that we now have the internet. And so we can contact family and friends that we just haven't gotten around to communicating with, and try doing Skype or Google Hangouts, because if you can see another person, even if you can't touch them, it creates more connections than just the phone even. So try to keep contact as much as possible. I saw on TV, there was a news report of a community. This was in Oregon, and it was a block party with everybody standing 6 feet apart, and they were outdoors, weather there, and so that's one other way. If you are all mindful that keeping your distance, that sometimes it is possible to meet with people in a non-crowded place and just say hi. So those are other options. Or I've been going on bike rides.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Lee.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, Carl, my sons went on a 65-mile bike ride. Shane and Jack went on a 65-mile bike ride yesterday. So, you know, that's one way to burn off tension in theory. Now, Netra, real quickly, because we only have a short period of time left, what is the worst thing? You gave people examples of good things to do. What is the worst thing you can do under the circumstance? What should people avoid doing?
They should avoid creating doom and gloom scenarios in their mind, because we don't know what's going to happen. And so, yes, uncertainty is scary, but it's better to just stay in the moment, stay with your breath, keep yourself busy if that's what helps you, but don't create everything to be the worst. The reality is, yes, a lot of people are getting sick, and a lot of people are recovering. Only 2% so far of the people that catch the disease get sick, and those are going to be people mostly who are older, have underlying illnesses. So just stay healthy, take your vitamins, drink plenty of water, wash your hands, and again, just keep focused on the moment. Keep hopeful that we will get through this, and do your part so you can feel proud that you stayed home, you did not infect anybody, you did your best to not get infected, and just focus on that.
All right, thank you very much. Certainly appreciate that. That's Netra Halpern, a friend of the show. She's a producer and director for foreign policy documents at Peace Films, and she holds a master's degree in psychology with an emphasis on feminist therapy. And she's worked as an advocate in Hawaii for a domestic abuse shelter. Thank you very much. Certainly appreciate it. You know, Lee, much needed advice, and I think it's going to be even more needed as we go on. You know, that we're very early in this crisis as far as, you know, some people have only been locked down, such as California, for a day. Many people that will be locked down haven't been locked down at all. We're hearing numbers of, you know, 2 weeks, 8 weeks that we don't know. So as this continues, it'll be very important for us to continue on this show to bring people on that can talk to our listeners about the mental health issues. And I don't care how healthy you are, you know, the old Zen master, the guy that's always walking around saying, who cares about anything? You know, I'm human. It's weighing on me. And as she said, one of the things that happens is you can kind of ruminate. You can think of the outcomes and come to the worst possible outcome in your mind, and that's depressing. So she had some great advice as far as staying in the moment, breathing, and not going out into all the possible outcomes, because there's no way we could possibly know.